One of the things that really helps us when anxiety is overwhelming, you know, you're inside that duvet cover and it's all consuming, you're feeling a bit claustrophobic, actually is to just ground ourselves in the present. Our minds are problem-solving machines. And when the problem can't be solved, we go over and over and over again. It's like watching a pink jumper in a washing machine go round and round and round. That's what our minds do. And actually, when we need a bit of a break from that, we can just ground ourselves in the present. Right now, in this moment, those thoughts about the past or the future might not deserve our attention and our time. If you imagine we are a boat out at sea and the emotion is the storm at sea. We're in the middle of an emotional storm. We need to drop anchor to the bottom and keep the boat steady until the emotional storm passes. So I'd like you to do this with me. Take a moment and breathe in deeply. Try to notice the feeling of the air going into your lungs. Continue breathing nice deep breaths. Notice how your lungs know exactly what to do. You might notice how the air going into your nostrils feels different to when it comes out. Just wriggle your toes and notice that even your toes are present in this moment. They often get forgotten about. And try to drop your shoulders and just notice. Be present in your body. And now look around the room and try to notice 4 things you can see. You might notice judgments or memories associated with them. Try to just bring your attention back to your breath. Notice those things as if you've never seen them before. Notice the angles, the texture, the colours. And now try to notice 3 things you can hear. And just bring your attention back to your breath. And now try to notice 2 things you can feel physically. And finally, notice 1 thing you can taste or smell, even if that's just a neutral taste. Notice it. When you're ready, just bring your attention back here to you and me working as a team to stay steady. I hope I've explained these 3 points in a useful way, but before we finish, I just want to move on to the final technique for managing acute anxiety. Anxiety has such a physical impact on us, and that's because when we were evolving, anxiety helped us to survive. If you were a caveman and you suddenly saw a tiger, your body would go into fight or flight mode. The oxygen in your blood goes to the organs where it's needed to help you either fight the tiger or run away from it. So your pupils dilate, or digestive system doesn't need to be working, so people sometimes feel sick or they might get diarrhea. All the energy in the blood is going to your muscles to help you have a burst of energy that's going to make you survive. So that's all well and good if that's what you're going to do, but actually if your body's reacted that way to a threat, but it's not a threat like a tiger, it's a threat like a brain scan on the horizon or coronavirus, the threat of watching a parent or a loved one suddenly start coughing and thinking, oh my goodness, is this at my door now? Our body is likely to experience the same response, but the adrenaline is likely to sit in our muscles, and if it doesn't have a burst of energy, a way of releasing, it's going to make us have the really aversive symptoms of anxiety, like shaking or rapid breathing or a heart that's really, really pounding. And we interpret those as symptoms of anxiety or impending doom. So a really, really simple technique to just turn the volume down a little bit on some of those symptoms if they're becoming aversive is to do a breathing technique. It sounds so simple that it almost undermines the really painful thoughts that you might be experiencing, but it works. What you need to do is breathe out for 2 seconds longer than you breathe in, and we'll practice this in a second. You need to do that for 4 or 5 breaths, and you have to count it, you have to time it to get it accurate. What that does is it changes the carbon dioxide levels in our blood, which metabolizes the adrenaline, and it has a calming effect on the body. Also, if you've been counting the seconds, then your mind has had a little holiday away from whatever was driving some of the physical symptoms in the first place. So let's have a practice. So we're going to breathe in for a count of 4 and breathe out for a count of 6. But you could breathe in for 3 and out for 5, breathe in for 5 and out for 7. Wherever your breathing is at that moment, that's what you want to tap into, and just do what's manageable. Then in, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You just want to do that for 4 or 5 breaths. If it's really hard to focus, you could always put the stopwatch on your phone or look at a second hand on a clock and use one of these slinkies. Children sometimes find this useful, but we all revert back to a childlike state when distress is around, where it's hard to process and think clearly. So holding something like this can be helpful. As you breathe in, make it wide and out. That can be quite helpful. Another thing that can be really useful is blowing bubbles. If you're blowing bubbles, you have to purse your lips together and blow, and that slows down the airflow for your exhalation. So that's quite helpful as well of focusing you.